What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Mensty back out with another review. And today we're continuing our Superman review series. And we are reviewing Man of Steel. But before we get into the actual beginning of the video, what's up, guys? Don't forget those subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one's absolutely free, number two also may be helpful to the YouTube algorithm, and I recommend the video to more people, and maybe they could join. And do feel free to comment your thoughts on Man of Steel down below. But with that being said, guys, let's give a quick plot synopsis of the film, shall we? So transition and shoes. The imminent destruction of Krypton, their home planet, Jor-El and his wife seek to preserve their race by sending their infant son to Earth. The child spacecraft lands at the farm of Jonathan and Martha Kent, who name him Clark and raise him as their own son. Though his extraordinary abilities have led to the adult Clark living on the fringe of society, he finds he must become a hero to save those he loves from a dire threat. Alright, so for those who missed my Superman Returns review, Superman Returns was actually the Superman movie I grew up with. That was the only Superman film I had watched, because I never knew that there was Superman movies before then. As for Man of Steel, though, this was actually the first Superman movie I was ever able to see in theaters. And again, I hadn't watched Christopher Reeve's movies yet until a little bit later on. So basically, Man of Steel was my second Superman movie. So I don't remember seeing a trailer. I didn't think I saw any trailers. I don't think. So I remember vivid memories of, so I go to AMC theaters now, but I used to go to Cobb 12 at, like, a mall. And I have lots of very, very memorable experiences going to that theater that are, like, just fresh in my brain. With one of them being my first ever theater experience, that, of course, being the first Avengers. That was my first movie I ever saw in a theater or whatever. So, Man of Steel was actually sometime around there. I would say, I think I watched Avengers, Walking with the Dinosaurs, Iron Man 3, Thor the Dark World, then this, I believe. So, let's just see what I think of Man of Steel. Does it hold up? I liked the movie originally, but let's see what my thoughts are about this film. And after I watched that, by the way, as well, I loved that film. And that one, I'm just going to cut right to the chase here. This is in my top 3 or top 4 favorite comic book movies of all time. I love Man of Steel. So let's just get into all the good about Man of Steel for me, shall we? Alright. Number one thing to talk about in here is the cast. Henry Cavill, of course, is phenomenal as Superman, and they did him dirty, the DCEU, but it is what it is. Also, you have Russell Crowe in a supporting role in here as Jor-El. Then you also have Amy Adams as Lois Lane, Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White. All the cast in here is great. For me, the person that was tied with Henry Cavill for, like, the standout of the movie was Michael Shannon's take of General Zod in here. So, in Superman 2, while Terrence Stamp does great for the Zod that he's trying to portray in that film, that Zod is very much more kind of cartoonish in nature, where you can tell it's very much just taken straight out of the comics. But what Zack Snyder does in here with the character of Zod, I really enjoyed, where he's a person that will do anything for his planet and will try to make sure it lives to its fullest, no matter the cost. For example, as well, one of his plans in this film is to create a new Krypton on Earth. I think that is definitely very great motivation for him, where he's kind of sympathetic, where all he's really trying to do is just try to protect his people at all costs. That's what he's trying to do. Whether it annihilates the humans, he's just trying to protect the Kryptonian people. So Michael Shannon loved his portrayal of General Zod in here. I think This was actually, for those who did not know, before watching this film, I had always liked the character of Superman. I never loved the character of Superman, but after watching this in theaters, I loved the character. Because this is very much more where this film is very divisive in nature. You either end up full on loving this film or full on hating this film. For me, I ended up loving it because it is a very much more darker and more serious take on the character, where in the Christopher Reeves movies and Brandon Routh movie, he's very much more comic accurate, where he's very cartoonish kind of in nature, where this one's it's much more of a serious take. And kind of takes it to a grounded level where it basically is going, what if there was an actual Superman living among us, and what all the consequences would cost in that scenario in real life. I love that whole entire little darker turn that they add in here. So, with, of course, well, we just talk about that next. The directing by Zack Snyder, with everything that's shot, every shot in here, I think, is warranted for the film and is great. I like the way he makes everything from Krypton look in this film. He did a phenomenal job at directing here. The action scenes in here are awesome too, where most people were going, oh, there's too much people dying in these fight sequences or whatever. And the action scenes are too actiony. Like, that's a common critique amongst this movie. But the action scenes in here, I think, are genuinely awesome. I don't care about that. I think the destruction in here, it makes the action even more fun, mainly with the final fight between Zod and Superman. I think it's great. They also essentially kind of add this little lore with Jor-El and Zod in here, where if the DCU existed still, I would love a prequel TV series with Zod and Jor-El's back and forth with all the stuff that they kind of briefly mention in this film. The music in here is, of course, outstanding, and it's done by Hans Zimmer, which, no surprise there. We went from one great music composer to another with John Williams with the original Christopher Reeves movies with that iconic score, to Hans Zimmer, which I think is in the top 3 best music composers of all time, with John Williams and Danny Elfman for best music composers of all time for movies in here. There's so many great parts of music throughout this. I do like all the flashback sequences that you get in here, as well, with Clark growing up as a kid, which in the Christopher Reeves movies, even though those are great in their own right, don't get me wrong, they kind of rush past it a little bit. Well, not rush past, but it's piece by piece, really, where it shows Martha and Jonathan end up finding Clark when he's younger, then just shows a part of his teenage years where he's learning his powers, and then immediately cuts to adult life. But there's a couple of scenes in here where they flash back, because the way they make Superman in here is kind of as if he's a ghost character, which I enjoyed that take, where not a whole lot, only a small bit of people know Clark, basically, and only a small bit of people have seen him use his powers in public, which I loved that take that Zack Snyder again did. Final good in here as well, which most people again were very, very divisive on in here, was the ending of the film with Superman. Spoilers here, if you want to just skip to my rating, go ahead and cut to my rating for this film. But the ending was Superman killing Zod. I think that is genuinely a great Superman moment. It's definitely in my top 10 favorite Superman moments in the movies wise, because the people went like, oh, you broke his moral code. He basically just killed somebody. You know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, But, yes, he broke his moral code or whatever, because Zod was about to kill humans, and basically, yeah, I just said basically again. Kal-El had no choice because he loves humans too, so he had to kill his own kind by snapping Zod's neck. I think that's truly a great ending for the character because he didn't want to do that, and it makes it where it's much more of a darker portrayal of Superman again, as I mentioned before. So this as well is a very Superman-centric story. Doesn't involve much Clark Kent, which will get a little bit more Clark Kent with Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, but I do love how the film ends off with him fully going into the Clark Kent side. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's just my thoughts on Man of Steel. As for me, this is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. It's in the top 5 for sure. Number 1 favorite comic book movie of all time for me is Matt Reeves' The Batman. Number 2, X-Men Days of Future Past. Then this, and probably, as of right now, I can't think of any other comic book movies off the top of my head right now, is my 3rd favorite comic book movie of all time. I think this is an absolute masterpiece, and for all the Snyder Bros and them praising Zack Snyder, they were right about this film, because this film was genuinely phenomenal. I love it every single time I rewatch it. Let's bring up this toxic meter. It's not toxic, it's an A+. This, spoilers for my ranking coming out soon of all the Superman movies. This is my favorite Superman movie. Unless if David Cornsweet's Superman is really, really good, or James Gunn's Superman. I apologize. But ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, that is just my thoughts on Man of Steel. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on this film down below. But with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace out.